Today we're going to talk about Special Olympics, Special Olympics of Kansas, just in general, and what it has meant to you and what impact you feel that it has had on both you as a person and you as a representative or a community member, so to speak. Okay? So first question then, what is the earliest personal moment or a story that you can recall that brought Special Olympics into your life?
Actually, that's the very first time I got involved with Special Olympics. I was in a seventh grade PE class, and the Area 6 director of Special Olympics, who happened to work at Campus High School at that time, Laura Spears, was short on volunteers, and she came into our PE class, and she got about 7 or 8 of us, and we went out to the stadium and we helped run the softball throw and a couple other events. And I can still remember that day because honestly, I've been hooked ever since.
Can you recall any particular more specific moments from that day? What stuck out? What was different about running this event than other sports events that you had helped with?
How excited all the kids were doing, no matter how well they were doing, and how excited they were for each other. They were all out there having a good time, and if their competition threw the ball farther than them, they were just as excited as when they threw the ball. They were all out there for the competition and to have fun and do the best they could, and they knew that everybody else out there was doing the best they could.
So, Special Olympics is a group that you've been involved with for a very long time. You said seventh grade, right?
Correct.
When did you start helping at a more regular capacity?
Well, that would have been in 1978, and I helped with that meet uh, every year up until my junior year in high school. So I did one event, and then my father started running the state swimming event, and so uh, the track meet I did was close to the end of school, so it was like in May, uh, and that's also when the state event is in June, and so I started helping with the swimming event as well as that area track meet, um, probably in about 1982 or 1983, and I worked both of those events for a while. Uh, as far as working the track events, it got to the point where finally I was asked if I could run the triathlon event at the state games too. So I worked regional meet, and then at the state games, I was in charge of the the athletes with the decathlon. So I'd have a group of like uh, 20 student or 20 athletes, all different ages, different levels, and we'd run through their tiers and run through all the events that they would do. So I did that for a while. Then they trained me as a official on the track, and so I've done officiating on the track since like 1988, and I try to do that. I've missed a couple of years with different things going on in Topeka or doing different things like that, but I try to work out on the track every year. And we took over the swimming competition from my dad several years ago. And as you know, my family and I had a big part in running that for many, many years. And that still goes on in June as well.
Okay, so you mentioned a couple of roles there, from initially helping with the softball throws and then running a couple events. What are all of the roles that you have held in the organization?
Uh, well, I've been just a regular volunteer. I've been what's called games management team. That's the people at state that run an event or events. Um, I was a coach for Hayesville USD 261. I was a coach for their Special Olympics team for about 1987 to 2000 and what would you guess, 6?
Possibly longer than that, but I'm not sure.
So over 20 years, and I coached basketball, I coached track, I coached swimming. Um, we had weightlifters. We have tennis players, which I didn't work with those athletes, but I worked with all those other sports, bowling. Um, I was selected as a coach for the Kansas team that went to the first ever national games, which was held in Iowa. And I got to take 8 swimmers from all around the state. We went and had a camp in Emporia before we left there, and then we went to Iowa for 10 days and competed at a national level there. I was also selected as an international coach, but I was unable to make that trip.
You have served as a city council member in Hayesville for almost 2 decades. Is that correct?
Yes, I was elected in 2001, and I was on council straight through to 2010. And at the end of 2010, I moved inside the city of Hayesville, but I changed wards, so I had to give up that seat. I ran for the new area of town I'm in and was elected in 2013, and I'm still on the city commission, on the city council at this time.
Okay. So, what are some ways that you think being not just a coach, but a coach for Special Olympics in particular has impacted the work that you've done on City Council or with Hayesville specifically? What perspectives do you think that has brought to you?
I think it gives me great empathy for people who have to overcome things. I have been, it's not just the athletes. What people don't understand is Special Olympics isn't really about the teams or the competition. It's about family. Everybody knows that everybody else is having to overcome something or is struggling or has issues. They know that when they see the family up there that has one athlete out there competing that has a physical or a mental disability, and it's a mom and a dad and 2 or 3 other healthy children, everybody, you are pulling just as much for that family as you are for that student, and that family is pulling for everybody else because everybody knows that everybody has something to overcome. And I just think that impacts a lot with what I do every single day. I think that's had a great impact on how I am a dad. I think it's a big impact on how I teach, how I coach regular kids. It's just empathizing with kids and remembering people have other things going on than just that one thing, and you need to try to put yourself in other people's shoes. And I think that makes me a better council person. I think it made me a good representative in Topeka. I think it's made me a better person, and I think getting my family completely involved in this has made my family stronger and more civic minded, and it's allowed them to give more empathy toward people and struggles that people are going through.
And you started to talk there as well. So that was the local level. You coached locally. You teach locally. You serve on a more local city council. Can you think of any specific policies or actions or goals in Topeka that you think that your perspective or your stance may be different because of the time and investment you've had with Special Olympics and with these great families and these great athletes?
Well, there's a lot of discussion about expanding Medicaid, and one argument against that some people are trying to make is that a lot of our disabled citizens will be pushed to the back of the line who have already been trying to get help through Medicaid expansion. What they don't really realize is that they work with a different part of Medicaid, so that would not impact them at all. What I do is that when people come to me with problems that have somebody who's has a disability, I can relate to them oftentimes quicker if they tell me what is wrong with the person, what they may be diagnosed with. Sometimes that helps me, and because I've been around that can sometimes give me some insight into maybe what those people are dealing with, or what kind of issues they may be having at home. And that helps me be able to inform people and try to explain to people how Medicaid expansion wouldn't affect this group, and how actually we need to get this group taken off of the, it used to be tied with a family section in the state, and they changed the area that was covered by the Disability Act. And honestly, the people that had to change during the Brownback administration, that section was overwhelmed with all the work. They didn't have contacts. They didn't understand how things worked. They need to put the disability unit back with the families group that was with before.
Backing up on a more not abstract but a bigger picture sort of picture, would you be able to name, let's say, three very specific skills that you have learned working with and coaching with the Special Olympics of Kansas program that you take to work every day, that you take to Topeka?
Sometimes you have to explain the same thing more than one way because different people will understand one thing and not understand another thing. So being able to relay what you're trying to get across or explain something and being able to do that in more than one way, because Special Olympics kids aren't all going to learn how to do things or know how to do things the same way. So you have to find different ways to explain them to them. Another thing is to just overcome adversity. Sometimes you want, as a coach, you're trying to get one of your athletes to do something, and maybe they just physically can't do that, and you have to figure out how to get the same kind of outcome, but through a different method than what you're used to. So I'm good at thinking outside the box. I'm also very good at working with other coaches, other teams, other families, other athletes to get ideas on how to make things better or more improved. And I think everybody needs to work more with working with each other and listening to ideas and trying to come up with better solutions.
So I'm getting a lot of both from what you've learned from the group and what you value at your time is a lot to do with sportsmanship, teamwork, fair play. Does that sound correct?
Yes, like I said, that was my first memory, was how excited the kids were for each other. And when you work an event or volunteer for an event that you've never been at, that is the first thing that stands out to almost everybody. It's just it's heartwarming. I mean, it just makes you feel so good to see people who tend to struggle on a day-to-day basis get out and do something and have success and have people be excited for them.
Okay. So along that line of excitement, positivity, um, or perspectives in general, what is the best thing you have ever heard an athlete say to you?
I love you. I mean, I have athletes that have told me that, and uh, they're genuine. And when you work with athletes, you feel the same way about them. You love them, and I've had lots of highs, and I've had lots of lows with athletes and with Special Olympics kids and coaches from around the state for a long, long time. And um, it's about inclusion and helping kids, and like I said, becoming family and loving each other for what we are.
Okay. All right. Is that's actually all I have on this particular rather niche topic. Is there anything that you would like to add?
Well, when I was busy and once I stopped coaching the USD 261 team, I did want to make sure that I stayed involved. So luckily, the state office did find things for me to do. I just would travel around and do things at the state events. So my family and I would go to Hayes for 3 days, year after year, and help set things up and run part of the events. I would walk around and help the officiating, help new officials we had, explain how things would have to be done and stuff like that. At basketball, and that was always in March. In June, I ran the swimming, was an official on the track. And in November, they have bowling and volleyball going on at the same time. And the head of the games can only be in one location at once. So he used to go to bowling, and he would have me go to, in Johnson County, I would go and I would run the volleyball facility for all the volleyball teams at state. So it was something that is important to me to stay involved. And so I did what I could to try to do my best to stay involved.
All right. Thank you very much.